I will say this right now, that if this were the last chapter of Vinland Saga, I'd be completely satisfied. I would be 100% completely satisfied with this as the conclusion of Vinland Saga. This was such a powerfully emotional chapter that I can't see, if anybody has been reading Vinland Saga and keeping up with it up until this point, has been a fan of the series, it's one of their favorite series, I don't see how this chapter doesn't just like stab you right in the gut with emotions, with all of the feels that could possibly be felt with the story of Vinland Saga. Like, if this ended here, it'd be fine. This could be the ending of Vinland Saga. It really could. And I've always enjoyed stories about redemption. I've always enjoyed stories about characters that have had horrible, kind of dark, deep, depressing moments in their lives and sort of kind of struggled their way to get out of it. Just something I resonate with, something I connect to. You know, I loved Rurouni Kenshin when I was younger. Angel is one of my favorite TV shows. Vinland Saga, like even Berserk to some degree. I've always really enjoyed stories about redemption. But the thing about redemption is there's never a point where you truly make up for the wrong things that you did, because time moves on and life is different. It's not like there's a checklist of bad things and then you go down a checklist of good things, and for every good thing you cancel out the bad thing. That's not how it works. This is why, you know, talking like in real life, whatever, like apology videos and things like that, you know, people just apologizing just to kind of get on the good side of people. That's why that seems so disingenuous and doesn't fit, because you can't just say, I'm sorry, and make all the bad things go away, because the bad things are never going to go away. The bad things will always exist no matter what you do. So you can't be redeemed for the bad things that you've done. But what you can do is use your life in a positive way moving forward to create better things as your life progresses. So you can't think of it as in terms of like, I'm trying to cross out and cancel out these bad things that I've done. The only thing you can do is try to make the people's lives around you better as you move forward, to show through your actions, not through your words, but through your actual actions, that you are changing as a person, you're growing as a person, and you're trying to be better. And it's not up for you yourself to decide if redemption is even possible for you. But then it comes to the situation of Thorfinn and Hild, and this has been a very interesting dynamic throughout the entire manga since she was introduced, because Thorfinn, of course, killed her father when he was younger in the mercenary band with Askeladd, and ever since then, she's basically had it out for his head, and she's allowed him this opportunity. She was convinced enough to allow him this opportunity to try to create this new world. But if any point in time he failed or regressed back to the person that he was, she was ready to kill him. And she sort of held on to this for a really long time, even fighting alongside of him and in everything that's been happening in the manga. But ever since they reached the new world and they've been building and creating and farming, in this chapter, it has a lot more to do than just the situation between Thorfinn and Hild, but just this is just really powerful. I just want to talk about it. Is that Hild has a first-hand experience more than anyone else. People know that Thorfinn was a mercenary. People know that Thorfinn was in battles. He was in war. Like, they know, you know, he's famous for defeating Thorkel. He's a famous guy. But Hild is the only one that has suffered true tragedy and defeat by his hands. And it's not for Thorfinn to ever decide, no matter how good Thorfinn's life becomes, he's always going to feel that guilt and remorse from the horrible things he does, especially when you have a living vessel of it with you at all times. So there's something that happens, again, like I'm going to talk about, but like, you know, Gudrid says that she's pregnant in this chapter, which is awesome. Awesome to know that Thorfinn's getting down. My man, Gudrid's adorable. But also this kind of signifies, you know, new life and all that stuff, like pregnancy, birth, whatever. It's a symbolism for, you know, a new starting point, you know, a new kind of like passing down the torch, passing the legacy. And there's a lot of legacy stuff in Vinland Saga about fathers and sons, obviously with Thors and Thorfinn, which also comes back to this chapter. And of course, you know, Sigurd and his father. But in this moment, it all comes together. Because Gudrid has seen the good that Thorfinn's done, and she's seen how hard he's worked. And that's the thing, too, that kind of like validation and appreciation for how much effort you put into something. Because Thorfinn would be perfectly fine if he never got any appreciation for what he did because he doesn't feel like he deserves it. He's doing this because this is just something he believes is right. He's not doing it to be congratulated or to be put up on a pedestal or anything like that. He's just doing it because he knows that he has to spend the rest of his life doing good things and trying to create something wonderful. And Gudrid has seen this, or Hild has seen this the entire way through. And she comes up to him after she had that kind of like vision she had of like, of kind of holding on to her anger and where she is right now, and the fact that she's been appreciated and kind of like brought into this group of settlers as well. She went back to her sort of carpentry and inventing that she was doing when she was first introduced. She created a way to help the wheat, be gone through and everything. I don't know what you call that machine, but it's there. And she comes up to Thorfinn and she says that she forgives him. And that's not something that Thorfinn would ever have thought or expected. And that's the thing, because it's not on Thorfinn to decide when he has redemption. This is completely 100% up to Hild. Hild's the only one that can decide if redemption is even possible for Thorfinn. She could have held on to that for the rest of her life until her deathbed or until she killed him. But like the fact that it goes even further in that she says that and Thorfinn starts bursting out into tears, it's because Thorfinn would never have expected or never would have worked towards trying to get that approval from her, because he would have felt like it was impossible. So she's giving him something that he would have thought in a million years he never would have gotten, and probably feels like he does not deserve in any way. And not only that, but this calls back to the lineage thing and like the new birth, new beginning, fathers and sons, is that she calls him a true warrior, which is the famous quote from Thor's upon his death: "A true warrior needs no sword." What does that mean? And Thorfinn, through his life, through this whole journey, and that's why, again, I'm saying like this could be the final chapter, because this solidifies what Thor's meant and what Thorfinn went through to become a true warrior. Because a true warrior fights, like the battle of a true warrior is not the physical fight. It's to try to figure out how to do what he did without violence, without war, without bloodshed. What does that mean? What does that look like? How do you do that? How do you create something? How do you move forward? How do you inspire people? How do you get to this point without having to assert your dominance physically over somebody else? To have the capabilities of that violence is one thing, and good in like absolute necessity situations. But if you are a true warrior, you find ways to where you do not have to utilize that, or do not have to, have your foot on somebody's neck in order to do so. How do you become a true warrior? Thorfinn did it. And Hild recognizes this, and she calls him a true warrior, which calls back to his father, which, from like a storytelling symbolism level, the fact that Thorfinn is going to be a legitimate father. I know he has Carl, but Carl's not his actual blood. It's his son. I understand that, but there's something powerful about that, about Thorfinn being accepted as a true warrior at the same moment that he finds out that it's time to like pass on his genetic legacy. It all comes together. And that's not even the whole chapter. That's just the finale. Like I said, Gudrid's pregnant. We see Big Eyes with the native girl again getting closer, which is great for his character. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, all of these moments, all of these characters seem to have like a finality to them in this chapter. Einar and Thorfinn recognize, they name their town after Arnid, and everything is prosperous. And this is like within her name, like within respect for her and her death. So that is all there as well. And even Evyar. So in the entire time, I've been saying Evyar actually does have some really good solid points. And Evyar is not a bad person. He's not a bad guy. He's not a villain. He might turn into an antagonist by the end of the series, but he's not a bad person. He just disagrees with Thorfinn on one issue. And in this one singular page in the chapter, it pretty much sums it up, where he says, I don't hate Thorfinn. Like, I like Thorfinn just fine, but the problem is we just disagree fundamentally when it comes to the idea of needing to use weapons when you're in a leadership position. But that's where their differences lie, and it's okay to have those differences. It's okay to have those discussions. And yeah, I don't know. I love this story. I love these characters, and I'm just so like, I don't know, emotionally invested in this final chapter, I guess. And I guess I haven't really had such a visceral like reaction to a manga chapter probably since the final Berserk chapter that we got, because, you know, I don't know, it takes a lot to get me up to that level, and I just feel like this was a really, really powerful chapter. And if they ended it here, this could be the ending. Like, you know, Thorfinn became a true warrior. This could be the ending. The only issue is now we have that vision, of course, about the impending doom of the future that the natives had, and how that's going to be incorporated with the rest of the story. And I can also imagine that after such a powerful moment of peace, you know, things are probably going to go the other way. But what do you guys think about this chapter? If you've been following Vinland Saga, if you've been following my videos, let me know. Also, please comment and like the video, because interaction does help it be seen in the algorithm better. And there's not a lot of people out there talking about current Vinland Saga, so I'd really, really appreciate it if you help get the likes up and the video comments up so that I could be seen more, so I could hang out with more Vinland Saga fans, get more Vinland fans onto the channel. Would really appreciate it. Other than that, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time.